Hello, my name is Matthew Stoll. I am Vice President of Education Consultants. If you're watching this video, it's because your site is going to be visited by an EC academic coach in the coming days. This video is designed to be a brief tutorial of the CTA 2.0 classroom observation protocols and variables that your academic coach will be looking for during their visit. The objectives of this video are: 1. For you to know the definition of CTA. 2. For you to know the 5 CTAs in this 2.0 version. 3. For you to know the 20 variables that we look for in these 5 CTAs. And 4. For you to summarize the traits of a good learning objective system. What is a CTA? A CTA is critical teaching attribute. It is a variable that measures one important attribute of effective teaching that can be used in almost any classroom. The first version of CTAs included 8 classroom variables that were observed during classroom visitations. Among these 8 variables were explicit communication of the learning objective, vocabulary instruction, and direct instruction. These 3 crucial Stage 1 CTAs will be the focus of CTA 2.0. Student vocabulary instruction will be renamed Student Talk. Direct instruction will focus in on the checking for understanding component of this important instructional delivery system. In addition to these 3, communication of the learning objective, student talk, and checking for understanding, we will also be looking for multimedia usage and question wait time. In addition to these 3, we will be looking for multimedia usage and question wait time. Inside each of these CTAs, there are a specific number of variables we will look for and record every time we observe in a classroom. Under explicit communication of the learning objective, your academic coach will be looking for teacher statement of the learning objective, student recitation of the learning objective. They will be looking for that learning objective to be posted in the classroom, and they will also be checking to make sure that instruction matches the learning objective. For student talk, your academic coach will be looking for use of academic language by students in the classroom, the use of complete sentences in answering questions and discussion by students, and also the use of sentence frames by the teacher. Under checking for understanding, your academic coach will be looking for individual oral questions where the student is identified first, individual oral questions where the question is asked first, and individual oral questions where we ask for a volunteer or a raised hand. Out of these 3 types of individual oral questions, the type that we would like to see most is individual oral question asked first, and we'd like to see the volunteer asked the least. Under checking for understanding, your academic coach will also be looking for whole class choral questions, think, pair, share checks for understanding, hand signals, whiteboards, and visual checks for understanding. A visual check for understanding is simply when the teacher circulates amongst students and visually checks student work to see if students are appropriately performing the task at hand. In addition to these 3 critical CTAs, we'll be looking for any type of multimedia usage, which could include overhead projector, audio tracks, graphics such as pictures, or anything else which adds a second type of media usage to the lesson besides teacher talk. They'll also be looking for the use of graphic organizers in your lesson. Any type of graphic organizer would do. The wait time is a crucial part of the checking for understanding, And there is no magic formula for what the wait time distribution should be in your classroom. Your academic coach will simply be looking to see if there are any patterns, such as this classroom seems to have many questions that require very little wait time, whereas this classroom has significantly higher level questions that require a significant amount of wait time. Now we'll talk for a few minutes about the 4 variables that are looked for in the explicit communication of the lesson or learning objective CTA. First of all, let's ask the question, what is a learning objective? A learning objective states what the learner is expected to be able to do after the instructional activity. It should begin with a Bloom's taxonomy verb, such as synthesize, assess, use, list, know, analyze, compare, contrast. It should be measurable with some type of assessment tool. This tool could be a quiz, could be homework, it could even be just teacher observation or peer observation. And it should align with a state or Common Core standard. It should also align with the lesson that is being taught, and it should contain any important conditions under which the performance occurs. What are the components of an effective explicit communication of learning objective system? This is an important question because we want to build systems in the classroom with which students become accustomed, so that the communication of the learning objective will occur in a similar fashion every day for every lesson. Components of an explicit communication of learning objective system include that the lesson objective will be displayed in the same location every day for each lesson. The teacher states the lesson objective to the students. Students also recite the lesson objective either individually or as a group. And the instruction matches the objective. These 4 variables will be looked for and observed during the academic coach's classroom observations. In addition to these 4, it is important to remember that the objective should be referred to at several points during the lesson, and that you can have students write the lesson objective in their notes or on their worksheets. Some examples of good systems to display learning objectives follow. On the left is a kindergarten classroom. You can see that this teacher uses visual cues or symbols to communicate the learning objective to students. On the right is a first grade classroom that uses a Houghton Mifflin focus wall to communicate the learning objective. You can see under the comprehension skill that the objective is to group things together because they are alike. This learning objective, as you can see, begins with a Bloom taxonomy verb, to group. On the left is a high school math classroom. This example is shown because the teacher has a well-defined area where the lesson objective is displayed each and every day. However, in this example, keep in mind that these objectives are not well written and do not provide enough detail, nor do they begin with a Bloom verb. On the right is another high school math classroom. This teacher had 4 or 5 of these portable whiteboards. Each day the teacher would write the lesson objectives for each class on the whiteboards. When that particular class was meeting, he would raise the whiteboard and hang it on a wall in a specific location. When this class was done, he would simply switch whiteboards for the next class. This is an example of a 4th grade system to visually communicate the learning objective. All of the objectives for each subject are posted at the beginning of the day on sentence strips and slid into the particular pockets for that subject here. It is our hope that this video will provide you with some prior knowledge so that you may have an understanding of what types of variables your academic coach and principal will be looking for during their classroom visits. It is our intention to provide detailed and high-quality professional development to all teachers who will be observed using this academic coaching process and this CTA 2.0s. We look forward to providing this professional development with you so that you may have a more detailed understanding of these 5 critical teaching attributes.